Snowball was just adopted, but she's terrified of her new home, so she refuses to play at all. Her new brother, Midnight, tried everything to make her feel welcome. He waited patiently for her to play, but Snowball just turned away, leaving Midnight confused and sad. There was worry. What if they could never get along? What if Snowball would always be too scared to trust him? Then, something amazing happened. Snowball finally stepped forward, touched Midnight's paw, and let him play with her. Now these two are inseparable, so subscribe if you love kittens. They found her trembling on a tree, soaked from the storm and too scared to move. So the rain poured down as she clung to the tree, crying for help. Then, a kind rescuer braved the storm and reached out to save her. They named her Puddle, but she was so cold and weak, they didn't know if she would make it. Every moment was a fight to keep Puddle warm and alive. Then, something incredible happened. Puddle stopped shivering and purred for the first time. Now, Puddle is safe and loved, so subscribe if you love cats. Rosie was born too early, so fragile that no one thought she would survive, but her caretakers refused to give up. They kept her warm, fed her drop by drop, and monitored her around the clock. However, every moment was a fight to keep her alive. Then, something incredible happened. Rosie began to grow stronger. Her tiny paws stretched, her eyes opened, and for the first time, she let out the sweetest meow. Now Rosie is thriving, so subscribe if you love kittens. Pumpkin was found on the street, dirty, hurt, and barely clinging to life. Her tiny body was so frail, they weren't sure if she could be saved. The rescuers worked tirelessly, cleaning her wounds and feeding her drop by drop. But Pumpkin was so weak, they feared it might be too late. For days, she lay motionless, and every moment felt like her last. Then, something incredible happened. Pumpkin started to eat on her own, and even tried to stand up. Her purrs grew louder, and now Pumpkin is thriving and full of life. So subscribe if you love kittens. Luna was found trembling in a filthy alley with no food and no one to care for her. Abandoned and alone, she was just days away from starving. When her rescuer tried to help, Luna hissed and swatted at their hand. No matter how gently they reached out, she refused to trust. For days, Luna stayed curled up in the corner, terrified of everything around her. But the rescuer wouldn't give up. They returned every day, offering food, love, and patience. And then, something incredible happened. Luna finally let her guard down, and at that moment, everything changed. She allowed her rescuer to pet her for the first time. Today, Luna has a loving home and a full life ahead. Subscribe to help more animals like Luna find their second chance. They found her lying in the street, weak, sick, and barely breathing. Beside her, tiny kittens huddled close, depending on her to survive. A kind rescuer scooped them up and rushed them to the vet. They named her Willow, but she was so weak, they didn't know if she would make it. Every moment was a fight to keep Willow alive. Then, something incredible happened. Willow lifted her head and purred as her kittens cuddled beside her. Now, Willow is safe. So subscribe if you love cats. They found her, curled up in the snow, stiff to the touch. Her tiny body was freezing and she was slipping away. A kind rescuer scooped her up and rushed her inside for warmth. They named her Snowball, but she was so weak, they didn't know if she would make it. Every hour was a battle to bring Snowball back to life. Then, something incredible happened. Snowball warmed up and played for the first time. Now Snowball is safe, so subscribe if you love kittens. They saw her running, but something was wrong. Her back legs dragged behind her, too weak to carry her forward. The tiny kitten, Spot, was terrified. She struggled to escape, not knowing the rescuer was there to help. But no matter how fast she ran, she couldn't run from the pain. Slowly, with patience and love, she learned to trust. Every gentle touch, every meal helped her heal. And then, one day, she didn't run away. She ran toward her rescuer. Now, Spot is strong, happy, and home. So subscribe if you love kittens. He found her on the train tracks, a sick mama cat huddled with her tiny kittens. She was too weak to move, and her babies were crying for help. He scooped them up and rushed to the vet, but things didn't look good. The vet wasn't sure if the mama could survive, but they refused to give up. Every moment was a battle to save her life. Then, against all odds, the mama cat began to heal. Her strength returned, and her kittens began to thrive. For the first time, They were healthy and together as a family. Now this beautiful family is full of life, so subscribe if you believe every life is worth saving. They found him, alone and abandoned on the coldest day of the year. Without his mother, he had no chance of surviving. A kind man whispered gently, trying to earn the kitten's trust. They named him Whiskers, but he was so scared he wouldn't let anyone near. Every moment was a battle to keep Whiskers warm and alive. Then, something incredible happened. Whiskers took a step forward and curled up in his rescuer's hands. Now, Whiskers is healthy, so subscribe if you love kittens. They saw her darting into traffic, scared, hurt, and alone. A car could have hit her at any moment. A driver slammed on the brakes and rushed to pull her to safety. They named her Pixie, but she was so weak, they didn't know if she would make it. Every hour was a fight to keep Pixie alive. Then, something incredible happened. Pixie opened her eyes and took her first steps. Now Pixie is safe, happy, and loved, so subscribe if you love kittens. They found her alone, hurt, and barely hanging on. Her orange fur was matted, and she was too weak to stand. A kind rescuer scooped her up and rushed her to the vet. They named her Marmalade, but she was so fragile, the vet wasn't sure if she would make it. Every moment was a fight to keep Marmalade alive. Then something incredible happened. Marmalade opened her eyes and took her first steps. Now, Marmalade is safe, so subscribe if you love cats. Shadow was found starving and terrified of everyone around him. His tiny body was too hungry to ignore the pain. A kind rescuer placed food nearby, but Shadow wouldn't trust anyone. He flinched at every sound, his eyes filled with fear. But slowly, meal by meal, he realized he was finally safe. Then, something incredible happened. Shadow took his first steps toward his rescuer, and for the first time, he let someone hold him. Now, Shadow is safe, loved and home, so subscribe if you love kittens. This cat was left for dead, covered in dirt and barely clinging to life. What happened next will shock you. When rescuers found her, she was so weak she couldn't even lift her head. Her fur was matted, and her eyes were swollen shut. It seemed hopeless. They worked tirelessly, cleaning her wounds and treating her infections. Every second was a fight for her survival. Days turned into weeks, and slowly she began to trust again. And then something incredible happened. She opened her eyes and purred for the first time. Today, she's unrecognizable, a symbol of hope and resilience. Subscribe to help save more lives like hers. Rebel was found abandoned in a junkyard. A metal pipe stuck around her neck. She was wild, injured, and fighting to break free. A rescuer moved fast, knowing she wouldn't let them help. Rebel was so injured, they didn't know if she would make it. Then, something incredible happened. Rebel broke free and ran into her new life, so subscribe if you love cats.